All right, hello everyone. My name is Sean Patel. I'm the founder of 2400 Expert, and in this video, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about our San Diego SAT prep courses. So to start off, I'll tell you a little bit more about myself. Back when I was in high school in Las Vegas, I initially had started with just an average SAT score. After lots of studying, I was able to raise it to a perfect SAT, which is something that only 0.02% of all students achieve. Now, because of my SAT score, my life completely changed. I was able to get into prestigious universities. I won $250,000 in college scholarships, and I even got to meet the President of the United States. So I went on to write a #1 best-selling SAT book as well as ACT book based on my own experience. I'm also an MD and MBA student at both Yale and USC. But most importantly, I started 2400 Expert, in which we teach 6-week SAT prep courses to help students improve their own SAT scores, all based on books, curriculum, and courses that I created to help students prepare for the SAT the way that I did in high school, going from average to perfect. The courses take place twice a week, where students meet with their instructor for 3 hours, as well as once a week for testing, so a total of 3 times a week for 10 hours total each week, as well as homework in between. And we've been very fortunate to have amazing results at 2400 Expert. The average SAT score improvement is 368 points to student scores. Many of our students go to the best universities in the nation: Harvard, Stanford, Yale, Princeton, etc. They win millions of college scholarships, and some even get perfect SAT scores themselves. So it can really change someone's life. And so in this particular video, I'm going to cover specifically the courses that we're offering now in San Diego or La Jolla. And so I'll first start off by just answering probably the most commonly asked question by parents with respect to the SAT, which is, when should my child start studying for the SAT? The answer to this question is really as soon as possible. So, many students are wait to study for the SAT until spring of their junior year or even fall of their senior year. However, that's often a little bit too late to start studying. If you think about it, fall of your senior year is full of college applications, spring of your junior year is full of AP exams and finals. And so it's really hard to study during those times because you've got so much else going on. You don't allow for enough time to dedicate towards SAT prep. In addition, you've missed the PSAT if you wait until that long. And I'll talk a little bit more about why the PSAT is so important in just a second. So what I've really noticed is that the earlier you start, the better you do. I personally started as a sophomore studying for the SAT. I ended up getting my perfect score as a senior, early senior year. Um, and then, most of the students at 2400 Expert who start as freshmen or sophomores studying for the SAT, they typically improve their scores the most. They get the highest SAT scores, they go to the best colleges, they win the most scholarships. So really, the earlier you start, the better. In addition, many of the strategies, the 100 strategies that we teach in the course, help students quite a bit in their own high school math and English classes. And so we teach a lot of just how to take tests and how to do better in standardized testing in general, not just on SAT. So, our San Diego course is at a beautiful location. It's called Intelligent Office in La Jolla. We work out of a conference room there that can seat about 12 students. So it's a small classroom, small class size. There's 2 whiteboards, a LCD screen to run our instructor PowerPoints on. And like I said, it's limited to about 12 students, so you get a lot of one-on-one time with the instructor. And the instructor is Rebecca Moshfegh. She's awesome. She's currently a UCSD student herself, scored in the 99th percentile on SAT, and she's really, really good at what she does. And so you guys are very lucky to have her as your instructor. So I want to cover a couple of topics related to the SAT that many people don't think about. The first is the PSAT, right? So the PSAT stands for the practice SAT, and most people don't think that the PSAT is that important. But really, the PSAT is extremely important. The reason that it's so important is really because it's the only test that can qualify you to become a national merit finalist. So what is a national merit finalist? A national merit finalist is not only something that's great to have on your college application, but it also is a scholarship worth $2,500 to any university of your choice. In addition, many universities will give you a half tuition or full tuition scholarship just because you are a National Merit Scholar. And so, for example, USC, University of Southern California, where I went, they automatically give National Merit Scholars a half tuition scholarship. So a half tuition scholarship at USC is equivalent to $25,000 a year times 4 years, which is $100,000 just because you scored high on the PSAT, right? So how high do you need to score? Well, it really depends on how academically competitive your state is. California, for those of you in San Diego, is a little bit more academically competitive than most other states. And so the PSAT cutoff to become National Merit for California is going to be a little bit higher. It depends on how well students in your state do each year, but usually the state's cutoffs are around the same. So I predict that the California PSAT cutoff score will be around 1400 this year, and that's out of 1520. The old PSAT was out of 240 points. The new one is out of 1520. So you want to be scoring around 1400 for the PSAT. So when can you take the PSAT? Well, you can only take it October of your junior year. That's the one and only chance you have to qualify for National Merit. If you take it as a sophomore or a freshman, that's only practice and will not qualify you for National Merit. And so, it's really only during October of your junior year, and many people don't realize how important this test is, and they don't start studying for the SAT or the PSAT until after that time. In addition, it's not necessary to study for the PSAT separately. I never did. All you need to do is study for the SAT. The reason for that is if you study for the SAT, you'll be over-prepared for the PSAT, because the PSAT is really just an easier version of the SAT. The math is easier, it's a shorter exam, there's no essay. So it's overall, if you're ready for the SAT, you'll be ready for the PSAT. In addition, the second thing I want to cover related to the SAT is scholarships. So everyone knows a high SAT score can get you into a great college. But what everyone doesn't know is that a high SAT score can win you lots of scholarships. So I know this from personal experience. I applied to 100 scholarships my senior year in high school. I ended up winning 20 of them. One thing that I realized was that 19 of those scholarships were local scholarships offered to students in my city or state. And so the secret to winning scholarships is really to apply to local scholarships offered to your specific region, right? And the reason that that's the secret to winning is because it reduces applicant pool down significantly, right? At least by 50 times if you apply to a scholarship that's only open to your state. And so it's very, very smart to focus on scholarships that are only offered to students in your state or city. And don't waste your time applying for these big national scholarships like most students do. Most likely you're not going to win them. I did the same thing. I went on FastWeb and I applied for big national scholarships. I won none of them. And I had a perfect SAT score and I was valedictorian and I had great extracurriculars and I still didn't win any. So I'm trying to save you a lot of time, effort, and energy and tell you just focus on local scholarships. One way you can focus on local scholarships is obviously by doing Google searches. One great foundation that I found that gives out scholarships specifically to San Diego students is the San Diego Foundation. So I would look at their website and the scholarships that they offer and make sure that you apply for those if you're living in San Diego. Finally, why should you take our San Diego SAT prep course in January and February, the ones that are coming up? Well, the reason for that is because I'm encouraging everyone to take the March 2016 SAT, which is going to be the first administration of the new version of the SAT. The reason that I think everyone should take this first version is because the students that are prepared for it will benefit from the curve. What I mean by this is that most students are not going to be ready for the current or for the new SAT, right? Most students, there's not a lot of prep material out. There's not a lot of practice tests. So it's going to be hard for many students to prepare. But for the few students that are well prepared, such as the ones that take our 6-week SAT courses, who learn 100 strategies specifically for the new SAT, who take 1,000 practice questions in our courses for the new SAT. Those kids are going to be really ready for the new SAT, right? And so for you, if you take our course and take that first SAT, you'll probably score very high on the curve comparatively to other students, right? And so you really, really want to benefit from this one chance you have at sort of a better curve than usual on the March 2016 SAT. And I know this from experience, really. 10 years ago when the SAT changed from 1600 to 2400, the students that were prepared for that first administration, I remember they got super high scores at my high school. There was a 2400, a 2390, a 2380, 2320. All these students scoring super high on that first 2400 SAT, and that's because they were ready for it, whereas everyone else was not. And so you should be one of those few students that's ready for the new SAT in March. And in addition, that really also spreads out your testing nicely, right? You take your SAT in March, you take your AP exams in May, you take your finals in June, and you get to spend enough time and effort and energy on each one of those rather than trying to squeeze in your SAT during May or June, which is what most students end up doing and not spending enough time studying for it. So take this time now in January and February to really prepare with our 6-week SAT prep course to get ready for that March 2016 SAT. Our course ends the week before the March SAT, so you'll be really, really ready for it. All right, guys, so I wish you all the best of luck in everything from SAT to college applications to scholarship applications, and please let me know how you do on everything.